A common narrative in our culture today is that there's conflict between science and Christianity, that the latest discoveries in science make belief in God impossible or render the creation accounts in Scripture unbelievable. But is this really the case? I'm joined today by Dr. Gavin Ortlund, a Christian scholar and a pastor, to help unpack some of these issues. Gavin, in the last episode, we talked about the fact that there need not be conflict between science and Christianity. But I'm curious, have you ever had to wrestle through a perceived conflict between science and Christianity, either in your past or even currently?
Yeah. I think when I was in kind of late high school years and then early college, I kind of went through a transition in my thinking where I was never, told that the young earth interpretation of Genesis 1 is the one, but I kind of leaned in that way just because I didn't really know what to think, and it seemed to be what most of the Christians I knew believed. And then I encountered a lot of evidence that actually there's great age to the universe, and it put me in a state of angst. I didn't find it to be an irrefutable problem, but it more just was kind of an uncertainty in my mind. I just didn't quite know what to do with it. How do the dinosaurs fit in with the Bible? Those basic kind of questions. And I had to kind of take some time and just work through that.
So then how did you ultimately come to resolution with respect to this conflict?
Yeah, I think there were two things that were really helpful for me. One of them was when I went to seminary at Covenant Seminary in St. Louis, my professors, my Old Testament professors, were really helpful in how to approach a text like Genesis 1, because they really put the emphasis upon, and I had no doubt that these were, they were trusted Christians. I had no doubt that I had no thought of them, being liberal or softening in their views of the Bible or something like that. I trusted them, but they put great emphasis upon, I can hear one of them saying right now, cooperating with the text and trying to submit ourselves to say, what did the original author want the original audience to take from this passage? And be careful not to import our own agenda onto a text, because we can easily do that. We have our curiosity, and so we read it into something. But Genesis 1 is the front end to the whole Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, the 5 books of Moses. And it's written to the first and second generation Israelites about to enter the promised land, telling them about who their God is. And it's so important that they know that their God is the creator of everything. I think sometimes we bring questions to that passage that certainly weren't the first questions that the original recipients would have been asking. And so that helped me just be a little more sensitive to that danger. And then the other thing was just, it felt counterintuitive to me to think that there had been so much time before human beings were created. It just felt odd. I didn't have an argument against it, but it just seemed strange. Like, why would God wait so long if we are his image bearers and we're given a stewardship role over creation? Why would there be this huge expanse of time before God brings us into existence? And a number of things have helped me with that. I don't struggle with that anymore, really. One of them has just been hearing from scientists about reasons why it kind of needs to be that way. And this isn't just random. But the other thing has just been not trusting my intuitions all the time. Because I kind of realized, there's a lot of things that are very counterintuitive that I already believe. One of them would be the size of the universe. I would never expect that the universe is as huge as it is. I just never would have guessed that, but it is. And so why should I trust my intuitions? It'd be very arrogant of me to think that my expectations are always going to be on track. I'm just a tiny little human being. There may be so many reasons for why God does something in a certain way that are just beyond my awareness. And so it's kind of like my son, who's 4 years old now, and he's in that stage of asking why questions a lot. And it's kind of delightful, but it also can be wearying because there's no answer you can give that you can't ask another why question. So we have conversations like that, like, why are we going to preschool? Well, you need to learn, Well, why do I need to learn? And we kind of go on and on like that. And I think, there's a level at which I can't explain everything to my son. He just can't absorb it all because he's 4 years old. Well, how much greater is that level between us and God? And we're not going to understand everything, but the question that I've gone back to is, do I know enough to trust God in the midst of uncertainty? And that's where I go to Jesus and I go to the cross, I go to the gospel, and I say, yeah, I think I have a lot of good reasons to trust that, whatever the answers are, there are good reasons that God has for how he's done things. And focusing upon the main things of Christianity and the gospel message itself really helps me get perspective about that.